What I like to do before we get into everything else is maybe go around and say, what do I find as the biggest obstacle for me personally in practicing presence? I'd actually like to start myself. Now, as we all know, if we're doing a morning practice, the first thing is actually getting started. Once we get started, that almost automatically changes. But there can be a lot of resistance going into that. And I can say one thing, the app absolutely reduces that resistance significantly. And it's, as I always give my wife as an example, it's so true. And the other is taking 3 conscious breaths. Okay. Now, even though I started many years ago and I did it consistently in the beginning, hold it. Consistently does not mean perfectly, by the way. That's not the object here. It's the quality of the practice when we do it, meaning it has to be done with the right intention. And we have actually have to take that 30 seconds and take 3 conscious breaths. And I can remember this, especially 3 months, even 6 months. It almost seemed to me that if I took those 3 conscious breaths, I was going to miss something. And obviously, as I grew in presence, I realized the only thing I was going to miss was all the inner misery I caused myself when I allowed myself to remain in an unconscious state, living through memory or anticipation, creating my own inner fears and conflicts. We help each other when we tell each other our own struggles with a practice, any practice, but especially present. So, Jack, you want to start?
Yeah, hi guys. I connect to all of what everybody has said more or less, but I think the most important things for me are that I'm doing this more often than I did before, and I'm feeling really good about it. I try to be really organized and do things in a exact time period, get myself up at a certain time. So I was doing my meditation early in the morning because I've always kind of done it when I could do it. And I know I was inconsistent. But in the last number of weeks, I've kind of experimented with just being ready and open and available. And I'm feeling really good about it. One of the things that's happening is I do my main meditation whenever I really have time. Still is mostly in the morning, but I find sometimes that, I got up late, I wasn't ready, and rather than trying to squeeze it in and, be thinking, oh my God, I don't have time to do this, but I'm trying to do it anyway. I just let it go. And when I find time, I do that. And that's coming around pretty good for me. I feel okay about it. But the thing that's really, I think, the best for me is the breathing thing. And I don't do 3 breaths. I do a lot more than that. It's kind of interesting. I find myself in a place, even when I'm driving, I find them, intense, and I'm going somewhere, and then I think about it, and I can relax, and I might do 30 or 40 breaths, because it's kind of a busy road, etc. And that relaxes me, and I kind of move more into a sense of presence and paying attention. It isn't like I'm gone away into some other realm. I become more present to everything, including my breathing. So the breathing has really, really been good. I've always breathed like all of us, but I think I've gotten more into realizing the importance of my breath and connecting that with God, the idea that that breath, and he and I are together in it. And yeah, it's really good. I have a busy life. I have a distracted life. But I'm finding that this practice of presence, this awareness of presence, this focus on being more, uh, more in contact with God. I used to always say, my soul took me places. Um, I'm beginning to realize it isn't my soul; it's our soul, my connection with God. So it's not a rigid thing; it's a flowing thing. I like it. I feel good about it. Oh,
Oh, Jack, you just explained, you could have gave the class on inner conditioning, because that's what you said, exactly what it is. It's the recognition of a power that's beyond all of us, at the same time working through us. So it's like I tell people, once you actually practice presence and grow in presence, you're not going to make a decision not to practice presence, because you know exactly the consequences. And especially when you're talking about breathing when you're driving, breathing, basically knowing, having the inner confidence that you are going to be present and actually aware of God's presence no matter where you are. And that's beautiful. That's God's gift to you and us. Oh, thank you.
Oh,
thank you.
oh,
Yeah.
Stephen Caldana, do you want to tell
Yes.
us what holds you back?
Yeah. So I like this question because it's about the obstacle, and so for me to look at this, is really looking under a rock, because for me it's a real I'm going to use a 12-step term, and I'm not a 12-step guy, but I probably should be. A lack of sobriety about presence. And I think that my pattern as a man and as an unconscious man is that I try to simplify things myself. I pull back from reality and work it and rework it and rework it in my head, until I get it really good and really right. And to some small extent, I think this has been successful for me in my professional life, in that small piece of my life that is sort of work connected, but it's the wrong software for my spiritual life, and it's not working for me in terms of finding an inner peace or connecting to God's spirit. So I think that lack of attention and that distraction that I have on a daily basis is really, for me, it's the biggest obstacle to practicing presence. And what Jeremy was saying really landed with me, this idea of a lack of discipline when I'm waking up in the morning. When I can find myself doing the morning practice, then things I'm more present to things in the day. But when I don't step into that in the morning, then the day is off, and it's like I'm already riding the wave and dealing with things in a reaction place, rather than in a place of surrender and tapping into the larger field of connection and peace and serenity that I need. One of the things that has been a challenge for me is just to put the phone by the side of my bed, because I have been trying for years not to sleep with my phone next to my bed, because I had this compulsion to sort of doom scroll or look at my news feed or look at my mail, or again, it was a distraction. And so with this practice, I'm also trying to make friends with this device as a portal to presence, to see it in a different way. And so I'm trying to sleep with it, but I still have this conflicted thing with it, where I still want to pick it up and, unscrew the top and drink from the news feed, rather than start the 3 conscious breaths. So for me, it's this dance between the shadow and the light, with it, Jim. So that's kind of my obstacle.
That's very good. Thank you. And you're more present than you think. When we know we're not present, that means we are present when we're thinking about not being present.
Yeah.